how many people have been disappeared, especially in Pakistan and across the region. But in Pakistan, we see that it's very much an ongoing phenomena. It is something that we see almost daily reports of, and it doesn't really show any signs of relenting. And in Sri Lanka, we've seen that it's sort of moved on to we're looking at where it's at a transitional justice phase where they're not ongoing, but families are still waiting for justice. But I think the most critical number that really sort of defines the phenomenon of enforced disappearances in South Asia is the number 0, which is the number of prosecutions that have taken place. That is one of the biggest reasons why it continues to happen with the force that it does. It's one of those situations where it really, as long if the political will doesn't exist, it doesn't really matter what the background was of how the government was functioning or how entrenched they were in the military affairs, because as we see that even with democratically elected governments, this enforced disappearances continue to happen relentlessly. And even in Sri Lanka, of course, we've had civilian governments that have presided over this. We've seen in Nepal that has been the case. We've seen that in Kashmir that continues to happen. So it's really just, if you don't have the political will, and if the act itself is not criminalized, it will continue unabated.
Now, global coronavirus cases have now surged past 25 million, according to Sunday's Johns Hopkins University's tally. Scientists worldwide are working against the clock to find a vaccine. For the past 3 days, Indonesia counted record numbers of infections and is advancing trials of a potential vaccine developed in China. Al Jazeera's Jessica Washington has more from Bandung.
These sisters are used to doing almost everything together, and now yet another shared experience. They're part of a trial of a potential COVID-19 vaccine.
If this vaccine works, praise God, Indonesia will go back to normal and we can go anywhere without being worried.
Each day they fill in a health report, and so far they've had no side effects.
They did human trials in phase 1 and 2 and they were fine, so there's no need to be afraid.
More than 2,000 Indonesians signed up for the trial of the vaccine developed by Chinese pharmaceutical manufacturer Sinovac. Dr. Eka Mulyana has also volunteered. Indonesia's medical community has been hit hard by the outbreak and dozens of doctors and nurses have died. He hopes he can help his colleagues.
I don't feel like we are being used as guinea pigs. In this time of the pandemic, this is an honour for us.
The proposed vaccine has previously been tested in China. Now advanced trials are taking place in countries with higher rates of infection. Phase 3 trials are expected to last around 6 months. And if the vaccine does work, Indonesia's state-owned pharmaceuticals manufacturer says it will increase production capacity and aim to produce around 250 million doses of the vaccine by the end of the year. The government has signed a deal with Sinovac to purchase 50 million doses of vaccine concentrate and take part in a technology transfer. According to those running the trial in Indonesia, that's good for both nations.
The COVID-19 infection rate is still high here. We can benefit from this trial. If it is successful, Indonesia will be one of the first countries to get the vaccine.
Analysts say the outcome of the vaccine race could have long-term impacts on global politics.
If Beijing is willing to share its knowledge and technology with as many as possible partners in containing the COVID-19 pandemics, then it will surely create a more positive or a more favorable image of Beijing in international affairs.
Sinovac's vaccine candidate is also being tested in Brazil and has been approved for late-stage trials in Bangladesh. Jessica Washington, Al Jazeera, Bandung, Indonesia.
Well, let's discuss this further now with Oksana Pizdik, who's lead at the UCL Global Citizenship Program on outbreaks of infectious diseases. She's via Skype from London. Oksana, very good to have you with us on the program. I believe there are currently about 170 candidate vaccines in development from China, the UK, Russia. Who's leading in this race? Where are the biggest chances for success right now?
Well, the clear frontrunners are the Oxford or AstraZeneca and the BioNTech candidate vaccines, with claims that these could be ready as early as April 2021. Now, if we take a look at the timeline overall, so going back to January 11th, when Chinese scientists first published the viral genome, phase 1 clinical trials then quickly started, where we have now moved into about 26 that are in human clinical trials overall. And we also expect to see that a further several others, including Novavax, will then also join phase 3 trials. Now, this is critical because we need a very robust pipeline. Overall, vaccine candidate success is at around 10%. So the more candidates that we have at different stages of development, the more likely we will get a positive outcome.
There was a lot of talk about the Russia vaccine a few weeks ago, but many Western scientists were skeptical and are skeptical about this Russian vaccine. Why is that? And how critical is it that this vaccine and others undergo rigorous safety reviews?
Absolutely. We would expect to see that such data be published in a transparent and open way for other scientists to evaluate. So this certainly feeds into some of the skepticism, as it is believed that making such announcements ahead of a large phase 3, which is the most expensive and most time-consuming aspect of any trial, is premature and in some ways medically unethical.
Part of the race for a vaccine has meant that whoever develops this vaccine